everybody. This is Austin talking about the art of war. This is episode 7. Now, I'm going to continue with Proverbs, but I want you all to, I want you to think about something before I go into the whole book with all the Proverbs. I have an easy way for you to remember what I think are the most important, roughly 100 Proverbs in the book. And so it makes it easier for you to run through them without trying to like forcefully remember all of them. You actually have a technique, so you can kind of count through all the Proverbs each day and know which chapter they go to. So like 1 through 100, you'll be able to count and go through, you know, as a practice every day, right? And it's an easier way. So eventually all of them will almost come naturally, spontaneously. All right, so the best way to do that is by using pictures. All right, the best way to remember things is through pictures. So Harry Lorraine is a guy who was a memory specialist or expert or whatever. I saw him on a show one time, in an infomercial, and he asked everybody's name at the beginning of the show, and by the end of the show, which is like an hour or something later, maybe 2 hours, I don't know, at least an hour, at the end of the infomercial, he told everybody in the audience their name. I was like, wow, it blew me away. So I bought the book, and I used it really only for this. I mean, sometimes I've used it for like quick to-do lists and stuff, but I found it most useful because I was like, how am I going to remember all these Proverbs? And so he's got a list, 1 through 100 of these pictures. And so they're descriptive words, basically, you know, just basic words. But the letters of the words are tied to certain sounds, so that, you know, I'll kind of get to that later. I'm going to spend one whole probably episode explaining about that. All right. But for now, I'll just go through a few more of the Proverbs. All right, so let's remember how to use the book. It's a tool it's about strategy, and it's a tool for understanding the very roots of conflict and resolution, right? And so basically, it's used correctly, it's about virtue, it's about beating corruption, it's about beating evil, right? But since it's a tool, it could also be used for evil. So you might have to battle someone who's also aware of these strategies and so forth. And in the end, everything comes down to good and evil. I mean, you have a doctor, some doctors steal organs to sell them and make money, even though they kill the person they sold the organ from. All right, so, you know, doctors can be evil, doctors can be good, doctors can save lives. Same with the police, you know, teachers, a mechanic can ruin your car just to make more money, right? You can be an expert mechanic, but if he's evil, you know, how's that going to do you any good? So you're dealing with deception, strategy, and dealing with disharmony. Disharmony mostly in the form of dealing with people. All right. So let's think of some Proverbs. I talked about chapter 6, I think, a little bit, emptiness and fullness. The first to be on the battlefield and so forth, and armed struggle, chapter 7. Perhaps we'll talk about chapter 1, strategic assessments. This will be like the first proverb. So it says, assess the advantages in taking advice and structure your forces accordingly. Forces is to be structured strategically based on what is advantageous in order to supplement extraordinary tactics. Now, I know that's a handful right there. But basically what it's saying is it's very important to take advice, right? Obviously, very important. Many books say this. Khalil Gibran, he who does not seek advice is a fool and a danger to his fellow man. So taking advice, and then you structure your forces accordingly based on this excellent information and advice you get in life from whoever, because there's someone always better than you out here, right? So we're always learning, mentor, professor, father, uncle, somebody wiser than you, somebody's been in the business longer, all right? And from your team, from people under you as well, from anybody, you know. So assess the advantages in taking advice, structure your forces accordingly. Forces are to be structured strategically. So anybody on your team is in the role for a reason that's based on strategy. And we'll get into that. Based on what is advantageous. So in a way, this book could be called The Art of Advantage, if you ask me, you know. But since some people might get that confused with becoming an opportunist and taking advantage of people and exploiting people, no, it's not that. But it is about advantage, the art of advantage. So avoiding conflict is an advantage, avoiding disharmony is an advantage, getting ahead is an advantage. So stopping danger is an advantage, getting ahead is also an advantage. Okay, obviously. So chapter 2, doing battle. Deception is used for the purpose of seeking victory over your opponent, but it requires truthfulness to lead a group. Okay, deception is very important when dealing with your opponent, depending on what type of battle it is, right? If you're having a debate with somebody, then there's no room for deception at all. But if you're running a company and you're marketing to fool your opponent, or in a fist fight, you want to give the opponent the impression that you're going to do this when you actually do that, right? And marketing a business is very similar to that. You want to give your opponent, you're going to do something else. You don't want them to know what you're going to do, because they might get the jump on you and do it first. And then those who are first on the battlefield, right? And ground of contention, the 9 grounds, chapter 11. You can't fight over a ground of contention. What's advantageous is to get there first. So we've all heard, like the art of worldly wisdom, those who are first are as unique as the phoenix. Those who come after are like parrots. They can't convince the world that they're anything more than parrots. They only get a younger brother's allowance, right? So we all know that being first is an important thing. Everybody can tell you the first person on the moon, or the first mass production of hamburgers, or the first mass production of automobiles. Everybody knows first. The first soda you could buy, right? No, few people remember second, third, fourth, and so on. So those are just a few of the proverbs, and I want to also talk about how we're going to, for those of you who are interested, I'm going to be incorporating the Harry Lorraine memory techniques. So there's a list of 100 words, and you have to memorize them. I'll give you, I'll show you, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tie, Noah, Ma, Rai, Shoe, Cow, I got to mix up, Law, Cow, IVB, Toes, Tot, 10, Tomb, Tire, Towel, Dish, Dog, Dove, Tub, Nose, Net, Name, Nero, Nail, Notch. So it goes all the way up to 100. Each one of those words was a number. And so when you put the numbers with the words, and then a proverb, well, the words you tie to a picture is tied to a proverb. So each one will be a proverb. And I've got them by chapter according to the number. For example, chapters 1 through 2 is 124. Chapter 2 starts at the 4th word. 124, 3, 4, I'm sorry. 1, 4, let's see, 14, 24. I gotta go back over the numbers again. 314, 424, 528, 638, 750, 863, 968, 1077, 1189, and chapter 12 is just a few things, so I just say 12, and chapter 13 is very easy, so I just say 13. So 1, 14, 24, so I forgot the first few, I'll go back and check it out. But anyway, that's the best way to tie it. And so I've gave a few proverbs, reminded you of the introduction, told you about the Harry Lorraine memory techniques that I recommend you use. Otherwise, you can just listen how you want, proverbs here and there, and take it in how you want. But I think for those of you who really want to go fast, the best way is to incorporate those proverbs, because I learned it a lot faster using that. I could just practice running through and remembering what they are when they're tied to those 100 words or tied to those 100 proverbs through pictures. I could just run through the numbers, and the picture connects me to the proverb, what it means. And I recommend that. All right, so anyway, this is episode 7. Might be a little bit longer. I'll go through some more proverbs, introduce probably the Harry Lorraine memory techniques on chapter 8, on episode 8. All right, good. Have a good day, enjoy, and practice hard. All right.